Welcome into College Football Breakdown with Joe Lisi. Find Joe on Twitter at @GoForThe2. Joe, how you doing today, buddy?
Doing well, Drew. Looking forward to a great week of week number 6. Rivalry weeks are here. They're going to be carrying us through for the next couple of weekends of college football. It doesn't get better than this.
Yeah, conference play for sure. Off a 4-0 week. He's 11-9 year to date. We'll get right into it. We got two SEC matchups starting us off. 12 noon Eastern, Ole Miss versus Auburn. Looks like Auburn's laying 21 at Penny, 22.5 at Bookmaker, Joe. A total of 56.5, pretty much across the board right now on SBR odds. Which way are you looking to bet this one?
Yeah, I like the underdog here, Drew. I like Ole Miss to keep this game close. You look at Auburn in the series. They won 3 of the last 5 over Ole Miss by 7.6 points per game. But I really feel it comes down to Ole Miss bouncing back after that disappointing 66-3 dominating loss on the road in Tuscaloosa to Alabama. They now go back-to-back road games to the state of Alabama. But I do feel that it comes down to the passing offense of Shea Patterson. This is an offense in Ole Miss that's averaging 361 passing yards per game, only rushing the football for 74 yards on the ground. But he has big play wide receivers that can stretch that Auburn defense vertically. Auburn comes into this ball game giving up 142 passing yards per game. But I think Ole Miss can strike first. They could stretch the defense and jump up on Auburn's offense, force them out of their game plan. This is an Auburn offense over the last 31 games, Drew, has only 2 games in where they passed for over 300 yards. One came this year, 3 weeks ago in the win over Mercer, 24-10. They threw for 364 yards. The other one came in 2015 against Chad Kelly and Ole Miss, 302 passing yards per game. Entering this ball game, Auburn is a balanced offense, rushing for 218 yards on the ground, passing for right around 210 through the air. So not a prolific passing offense. I look for Shea Patterson and Ole Miss to keep this game very close. They push Auburn to the limit, 30-27. Auburn gets a very close victory in Jordan-Hare this weekend.
All right, Joe, so going with Ole Miss plus 22.5 at Bookmaker. And I'll tell you, to add something to that, Joe, Jordan-Hare Stadium, it's one of the tougher places to play in the country. But I'll tell you, a noon Eastern kick, so 11 Central time, that stadium just isn't the same as a night game. So add that involved, the home field advantage won't be the same either. So I don't have too much of a disagreement with you going with Hottie Toddy plus 22.5 in that one. We'll move on to the 4 p.m. Eastern slate. Another SEC matchup here. We got Arkansas traveling to play South Carolina. Looks like Arkansas is laying 2.5 or 2, depending where you shop. If you're looking to go on Arkansas, recommend shopping at Bet Online, just hanging at 2. And it looks like a 47.5, pretty much across the board. Just Bet is showing just 47 if you're looking to bet the over. But Joe, which way are you looking to bet this SEC matchup?
Yeah, I like Arkansas in this ball game. They're coming off a 42-24 victory at home over New Mexico State. They passed for 264 yards through the air, rushed for 230 on the ground. A very balanced offensive attack, and defensively held New Mexico State to only 11 rushing yards in that ball game. You look at South Carolina, they lost in College Station 24-17. They allowed 237 rushing yards to Texas A&M in that ball game. In back-to-back SEC games over 3 games now against Kentucky and Texas A&M, South Carolina's defensive front hasn't been good in run support. They gave up 184 rushing yards to Kentucky, 237 to Texas A&M. Entering this ball game, South Carolina is giving up 153 yards on the ground. They're a one-dimensional offense as well. They cannot run the football. South Carolina is only averaging 84 rushing yards heading into this ball game. Arkansas has a very good defensive front seven. They're holding opposing offenses to 142 rushing yards on the ground. And when you look at third down conversions, that'll be the key for this ball game. Arkansas, from an offensive perspective, is converting 50% of their third down conversions. South Carolina is giving up, as a defense, 45% on third downs to opposing offenses. I like Austin Allen. I like the physicality of Arkansas's offensive line. Think they can work off of play action. They're also positive in turnover margin entering this ball game. To me, I think South Carolina is getting worn out from the schedule. I like Arkansas to dominate this ball game. 31-17. They get a double-digit victory in Columbia this coming weekend.
All right, Joe. So on Arkansas, -2, can find that on Bet Online. Moving on to the 7 o'clock slate, we got a Big 12 matchup, Kansas State versus Texas. Looks like Texas is laying 3 and a hook, -3.5, pretty much across the board. Total of 49.5 at Bet Online. You can find a 50 at Bet DSI. Joe, how are you looking to bet this Big 12 Kansas State versus Texas matchup?
Yeah, from a series perspective, Kansas State has won 3 of the last 5 over Texas and have won those games by 14.6 points per game. They won this game in Manhattan last year, 24-21. You're talking about a Kansas State offense that is averaging 229 rushing yards on the ground, only passing for 179 yards through the air. And to me, that's the difference. I give the edge to Texas from a defensive perspective. You're talking about a Texas defense that's only given up heading into this ball game 96 rushing yards per game. After they gave up over 200 yards week number 1 to Maryland, the front 7 has played very well. They've only given up 42 rushing yards to San Jose State. They gave up 71 rushing yards to USC and gave up only 10 rushing yards to a solid Iowa State offense in Jacob Park last week. Defensively as well, third down conversions, Texas is holding opposing offenses to 28% on third down conversions. Kansas State is only converting 38% of the time. And I feel that Jesse Ertz, their quarterback, is a one-dimensional quarterback. When he's put in the pocket to make his reads and progressions, he's not a prolific passer. He's only completing 52% of his passes. On the flip side, Shane Buechele has played very well. This is a Texas offense that's rushed for 178 yards on the ground and has passed for 265 yards through the air. I think Texas starts fast, puts the pressure on Kansas State. I know they have Oklahoma on deck with the Red River rivalry. I don't think it matters. Texas has a significant advantage from a speed perspective, offensively and defensively. I think they win this ball game by 17 points or more in Austin Saturday night.
All right, so Joe, laying the short number, -3.5 across the board with the Texas Longhorns. Anything else, Joe, before we close it out, college football-wise?
No, I mean, there's another game I like is Iowa State. We're talking about the Big 12. I think you could throw Iowa State in there against Oklahoma. Oklahoma's won 18 straight against Iowa State. Last loss came in October of 1990 to the Cyclones by a total score of 33-31. The last 6 games have been decided. Oklahoma 6-0 in those games and have won those games by 27.3 points per game. But Oklahoma's coming out of a bye week. Lincoln Riley's a new coach. Bye weeks are very difficult for experienced head coaches. So I think there you could see a little offensive inconsistency in this ball game, coupled with the fact that Texas is waiting on deck with the Red River rivalry. I still think Iowa State is a solid team offensively with Jacob Park. He's completing 61% of his passes, 1,181 yards, 9 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. But Iowa State impressed me in their loss to Texas last week. From a defensive perspective, they're holding opposing offenses to 115 rushing yards per game. I think they can make enough plays in this ball game to cover this 28-point number. Again, I think Oklahoma wins, but I think Iowa State covers this big number in Norman this coming Saturday.
All right, Joe, so are you adding that, making it a 4th, or are you sticking with 3?
No, I'll make it a 4th. I like Iowa State in this ball game. I think they cover this number. It's an early kick. You're talking about an Iowa State team last year, Drew, that lost to Oklahoma 34-24 in Ames. They lost 4 games last year against the Big 4 in the Big 12 last year by a total of 25 points. I think Iowa State and Matt Campbell have some speed on the outside. Look for a shootout in Norman. Iowa State will be able to cover this number this coming weekend.
Okay, what number is that? What's the best number you can find?
I think it's 28, 28.5, 27 in that area, 27.5. You could probably catch some 28s around town. I would gobble up the 28 here.
Okay, so Joe, add in Iowa State plus 28. We got Texas -3.5. Ole Miss plus 22.5 at Bookmaker, and Arkansas -2 at Bet Online. Joe Lisi, find him on Twitter at GoForThe2. He went 4-0 last week, 11-9 on the season. We'll be back next week with another college football breakdown with Joe Lisi. Thanks for tuning in.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to our channel. Now, we've put a lot of work into producing all these free videos, so please help us out and keep all our content free for you forever by simply liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. Now, not to mention, a visit to our industry-leading website will warm the hearts of all our SBR employees, especially myself. Now, the links are over there to the left, so do check those out. Thanks for watching.